Hello, so quite a lot of you have been curious on social media about my writing, because I have been sharing more about writing because I think it's a fun thing to think about, and social media feels so redundant in so many ways that actually the writing space as a community collective thing to do is a really big way that it makes sense for me. I'm like, oh my god, this is what social media would be very useful for. So I have been sharing more about what I've been writing, and I wanted to go in today about how I'm doing with it, what I am doing, why I'm doing it, and the methods that I am using. Presently, it is the 26th of November, which is almost finished with National Novel Writing Month. Now, 2 years ago, you might remember I did a video about how I completed National Novel Writing Month, which is a challenge where you have to write 50,000 words in a month. Did it! It nearly killed me. I really enjoyed it. I wrote more than I've ever written in my whole life, and I wrote a book with some really good chapters in it and a lot of shit. So in some ways it kind of knocked my confidence because I'd written so fast. I actually wrote utter shit. But it also gained confidence because I was like, oh, I am capable of writing a 50,000 word book. And maybe if I spent even longer on it, it might be even intelligible. Where do I start from? In November last year, I had an idea for a book. I've been writing a different thing and lots of other kind of little things and some poetry. And then I had this idea for a book that just got me. And I was like, oh shit, I have to do that. So I kind of stopped everything else I was doing to work on it. I was outlining and drafting ideas for like 6 months. After 6 months of writing various conversations between characters, like drawing out character histories, outlining what the concept of the book, I wrote a outline, and the outline at the current count is 23 pages long, so it's literally everything that happens in the book. It started as a A4 page, and then through some like kind of writing advice I got from this incredible podcast called Writing Excuses, I decided to keep packing out the outline until I was happy with it. So it ended up being a 23-page outline. Since then, so that was after 6 months. So yeah, like May-ish, I started really writing the book. I didn't start at the beginning, but I did take out, like, I copy and paste a paragraph from my outline and then try and write that section of the book and then do that again and again. So I was doing that on my own before work a lot of the time, and then also like in coffee shops with friends, which is really nice. I have some really nice writing buddies that I'll be like, do you want to meet in Pret at this time after work? And they're like, yeah, sure. And we'll do like 2 hours, and like that we'll set a timer on one of our phones for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. We'll write for that amount of time, not allowed to talk to each other. And then we're allowed to have like a 10-15 minute break to chat to each other about what we're doing, the outline, like what we're worried about, and then we do it again. So I was really enjoying that, and I think it was at like 15,000 words. It took me a long time to get that first bit down because I wanted to get the voice right. I think sometimes the advice for people is to like, just write and then fix it in post. And I'm like, yeah, but when you're really starting a book, and I think like I'm still considering this my first book, like it's so hard to get the voice right and to get like the sense of what you're doing. And I didn't see the point in like bouldering through and writing a whole book in the wrong tone, the wrong tense, with the wrong main character, only to have to do it all again. So I did work really hard on that first 10,000 words to make sure it was the tone, just had the spirit of the book that I wanted. And then I picked up the pace of writing and wrote another 1,000,000 words. So I continued writing probably about the 30,000 word point, in a faster fashion. It's like not worrying quite as much because I kind of knew the essence of the book and the tone, and I was just faster at writing at that point, and also just a lot more determined because I was like, this book needs to come out of me. It's like kind of like being in the mid levels of labour where you're like, just get it out of me. I've been waiting in this waiting room for 10 minutes and my water's broke like 20 hours ago. Well, that's how I imagine it is. So yeah, I kind of like blitzed through it a bit more then, and then now it's National Novel Writing Month, and I did try and blitz at the beginning, but then I had such a busy... So again, it's like the thing of most people have full-time jobs, so I think sometimes you can watch people on NaNoWriMo and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just blitzing through it, and they hit 50,000 words every year. It's usually because they're students, they don't have home responsibilities like children, or they're not carers, or they're like don't have full part-time jobs that sometimes, like with any job, sometimes bleeds outside of the lines of the contracted hours you're in. So especially when you're full-time in an office, you're often asked to work lots of extra time that you're not necessarily paid for. Whereas like with bar work, that was so easy because I could just be like, I'm going because you're not paying me. I think there's always like unpredictable things in a month that you can forgive yourself for. So this week I haven't written. I've written about 500 words this whole week. But the week before I wrote quite a lot. So I've written about 12,751 words in November so far. And I'm pretty happy with that. That's way more than I would have written. And definitely having the graph that they have. Let me show you this. Where you can like note down what you do every day and what your average is. So my average per day is 490 words, which is still pretty good, I think. So yeah, like I find NaNoWriMo a weird thing to do because it's kind of like really motivating, but also can have pressures and leads to comparison sometimes. But yeah, I really enjoy it. So at the moment, my whole book is 43,691 words, which I'm bloody proud of, and I'm really enjoying it. Some of the tools that have really got me going, I got some funding last year from YouTube. I used it to buy this camera because at the time I didn't own my own camera. I'd been borrowing cameras for years. And I also invested in masterclass.com, hashtag not sponsored at all, I wish, where it's kind of like Skillshare, but like for really, so they've got like Serena Williams teaching tennis, and you've got like Gordon Ramsay teaching cooking, and you also have Judy Bloom teaching writing for children, and some screenwriters, and Margaret Atwood teaching writing, which is really cool. And the one that helped me the most, actually, that I watched the whole way through, was James Patterson's lessons on writing, which I wasn't expecting to love, but found the most granularly helpful. Like I found his advice very specific and really applied to the traps that I fall into when I'm writing, and actually taking hints from a crime writer, even though I'm not writing crime, I'm too of a scaredy cat to write crime. The pacing issues and the structural stuff is what annoys me. I think what you have to pay attention to in books to be happy with your own writing is work out what really pisses you off about a book that makes you think it's a bad book, and make sure you're not doing it in your writing because you won't be happy with it. And one thing for me is like books that are too slow, books that aren't structured properly, books where you can tell that they didn't plan the end. So James Patterson, actually, even though I've never read a James Patterson book, he has his tutorials help me a lot. Writing Excuses is a free podcast that I listen to all the time. I'm addicted, and it's like for fantasy writers, talking about plot structures and character development and how to write about weighty topics and like all of these things. It's like a whole huge masterclass in writing, and it's so good. I've been reading little bits here and there, so I've read a bit of like Scarlett Thomas's Monkeys with Typewriters. I've been using Ready Set Novel, which I can't show you too much of because like it's got all my writing in it, so you need to work out what my book's about. Got like things like this where you can plot the plot. It asks you loads of hard questions about your characters. So like I don't want to show you too much of the writing, but like character outline, so you can, it asks you stuff like the education level of your character, what's their disposition, what's their political and religious beliefs, and it makes you like think a bit harder about what you're trying to do. It makes you write out the timeline of your book. It gives you space to write out like the timetable of your characters and what they might do in a normal day. And like at first I was skeptical, but again, I can see this pattern with myself. I'm always skeptical about things, but they tend to work out quite well for me. Yeah, I actually found it super helpful when I was beginning. This is like my before the outline. I filled out quite a lot of this, and that really, really helped me at the beginning. What other resources have I been using? I think that's it, really. Because also I think you can fall into the trap of getting so obsessed with the material you're using to research writing, you don't actually just get on with the writing. So I've been trying not to fall into that trap, even though there's so much good stuff out there and it's very easy to. But yeah, that's how my writing's going. I just wanted to let you know. I wanted to hear how your writing's going. The next steps for me is like finishing the book, which I think is going to take a long time. I think it might take me another 6 months to a year to finish what lots of people call the trash draft. So don't get excited about being able to read it anytime soon, but I just really I'm really enjoying it, and I am finding that it's a really good reason to set aside time for myself as well, and stop going out as much and chilling out a bit as I am nearing 30. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying writing for the sake of it, and writing because I really care about the characters and because I'm like obsessed with how this plot might work. Yeah, the next steps for me are really finishing it, and then also like finding some beta readers once I'm kind of happy with it, because I want to see how other people feel about it and what I'm missing. And so picking those people carefully, people that probably aren't in the industry, they're just like readers, and then but like also would get the type of book I'm trying to write, and not be like, oh, I wish it was like this, and I'm like, well, it's not that genre of book. What else can I tell you without telling you the bloody plot? It's magical realism, predictable. It's not YA, I don't think. It's commercial fiction, I think, but also it's like hard to tell what it is before you've written it. But obviously I spend all day around books and the infrastructure that sells books, so I'm obviously like thinking about shelving marks before I finished it. But yeah, are you guys writing? I think some of you are, because you're very curious about my writing when I post about it on social media. So let me know in the comments below if you are, and what you're up to, and any tips and tricks you have for writing. My biggest tricks are from this video: writing with a friend, not all the time, but often, and not making a big thing of it, just like a kind of like fancy it today after work. Listening to some writing advice, because even if you disagree with it, it's a good way to make you think about different aspects of the plot you might not have considered thinking out properly. And 3, make time for it. I literally book it in my diary like it's a person, because your book is a person and it deserves the respect of not ditching on it all the time and flaking on it. So that's something that I've struggled with in the past, but I think I'm getting better at, is actually committing the time to it, and stop chewing your friends' ears off about writing a book and actually fucking write the book. So I'm fucking writing the book. Okay. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for watching. If you would like to support this channel, you can turn off your ad blockers. You could tell a friend if you enjoyed the video and you think they might enjoy it, share it with them. You could join the Gumption Club, which is a club of people who tip me for these free videos I put out, because they are kind souls, and in exchange they get a audio download of a poetry collection that I wrote. They get to add me on Goodreads. They get to be part of a secret Facebook group called the Gumption Club, where we share ideas and problems and share resources, and I sometimes live stream in there, and it's super fun. So if you want to join that, you can click the description. What else? Thank you, basically, for watching. You're already supporting the channel by watching. Okay, I'm gonna get on with the writing now. Stop talking about it like the dick that I am. Okay, Fox out. Bye.